and welcome to the Pastor's Study. Last time we were together and we looked, we saw that Paul wanted us to be making his joy complete, being Christ-minded. Well, he continues in that thought and he says, that in verse 3, he says this. He says, do not, or rather I should say, do nothing from selfishness or empty conceit. When we have the motivation of making ourselves look good, or the misunderstanding that we are special in some way, that vain conceit that we're above other people, that we're better than others. Sadly, there are many who call themselves Christians and those that I think truly are Christians, and yet they struggle in this area because they act like they're special. They've arrived above some temptation, and they don't have the struggles that maybe another Christian has. They're not dealing with certain sin issues, and they feel good about that. Paul says, no, you don't do these things out of some selfishness or some vain conceit, but he says, do the things that you do out of humility of mind and with regard for one another. Look at the other person and say, they're valuable, and they're more valuable than I am. God can use them in a greater way than he can use me. And he says, do not look out of your own personal interests, but also out of the interests of others. Sometimes that means that you give up your rights to something. You give up your time for the benefit of someone else. You let somebody else take the credit. You let somebody else get the praise. You let somebody else be lifted up, or you donate your time and energy to helping them become a better Christian. You don't do it because it becomes some spiritual notch in your biblical Bible, but it becomes a motivation for God's glory. You don't do it for selfishness. You don't do it because you're better than anybody else. You do it because God is glorified. You do it with a humble mind. This is what Paul is challenging us. I enjoy our time together, and I am greatly encouraged by the notes of encouragement that I receive from time to time. But I do it so that God is glorified, not so that I get a pat on the back or that I think I've arrived. So when you're out in the world and you're helping somebody, do it so God is glorified. Till next time in the Pastor's Study, goodbye.